I recognize that it's more beneficial, attractive to be positive all the time. Anyone aware of my journey, I have highs, but I have lows. So the low days can be quite demoralizing. Obviously, positive days can be inspiring. That's life. We have the ebbs and flows throughout it all. I'll go through a bit of a hard moment at the moment where I feel demoralized, like quite heavily. And I think if anyone's aware of my journey, I don't think they realize how low it can get at times. Not only is it a frustration, but it's an impact it has on my own life. And like maybe I can withstand more pressure than the average person. Maybe I can deal with more trauma and hardship, but it still compounds. So when it's months, years, it gets a bit much. So as you can see in the title there, shutting down, I'm taking a break from everything. I don't feel inspired to create right now. Now I know it's quite drastic when you consider where I've been over the past few days, but I felt inspired in those days. Today I'm just deeply annoyed, and I see that carrying on now. If anyone's again, I keep saying if anyone because I know most people aren't aware of my journey. But I was supposed to. When I say supposed, I set goals for myself, and it's very rare that I don't fulfill or achieve that goal. I was I set this goal for myself to release a book last year. I've done a book every year since 2019. 2025 was the first year I didn't release a book, and I could have done it. It was the work was already been work. Everything was being worked on. I had 3 manuscripts I was working on, different stages. So I was working on one, then I just started working on another one while I was still working on this one, and it was all coming together. Then I started focusing heavily on the video content, and I was just going where I wanted to put my energy. In the end, I decided I didn't want to use the rest of my year to focus heavily on writing. So I just kept delaying, and I just decided, I'll go. We can do that next year. It's fine. And this year, I'm like, there's going to be 3 books, and the plan is still that there'd be 3 books. But in all honesty, I don't genuinely care though. Like when they release. So they will be released, the next 2 books. So when I say the 3 books this year, I've already released Follow Your Dreams to Spark Your Soul, finished at the end of January. Milestone for me. Happy days. But at the same time, yeah, the 2 more books could come out this year. And the plan is July, perhaps, and then the end of December. But I've already done my book for the year. So quite honestly, even if I don't manage, even if I not even manage, if I don't want to, I don't really care this year. I've done something that I think is quite special with my time. And look, there'll be days when I'm more inspired, and I probably will work on it. Whether it's enough to release either of those books this year, the ones remaining, who knows? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But like I say, deep down, I genuinely don't care. Not about the books, but about the timeline, as was evident last year. So, because these are my last books, right? Roughly, I mean, I had other concepts, but whether they see the light of day, whether they're worth putting the time and effort to, I don't know. I think by the time I finish the books in progress, I'm going to have 9 books. I've said what I had to say. So do I need to keep doing more? I don't think so. So it begs the question, what comes next? But even before we get to what comes next, it's how hard my life is right now. And I'm deeply frustrated because I feel stuck. I can't achieve success in this way, and I can't seem to gain in this way. I'm stuck in this freaking eye of the storm sort of situation. And it doesn't matter what I do, I can't seem to change the circumstance. And I'm sick and tired of struggle. I don't have people that support me on my journey. I rarely have, ever. Sometimes there's been a pocket of a person here, a pocket of a person here that year or this year, just for a very small window of time. In a 12-month window, I don't have that support. I have my mum I talk to a lot. She's helped me where she can. Even she has her limits. You know, People can't just support you to the end of the earth forever. You know, especially when it's financial help. You can only help in pockets, and it's just not enough. And it's not their fault. It's my fault but it's the sacrifice I do to create what I do. So if I didn't make those sacrifices throughout the years, the work I'd done wouldn't exist. The volume wouldn't exist for sure. So all the videos I've been doing for years wouldn't be there. The books I've done wouldn't exist. So although someone will have an opinion on that, that's fine. But let's say one day these books do help people and perhaps even save lives, then it's worth it, wasn't it? And that's the thing. I never ask for things. I'm not someone that says, please help me with this, please help me with that. I just get on with it. And it's something I'm going to say now, and I don't care how it comes across. And I know it's going to be sexist. And it's just people are so quick to take exception to things and feel like the victim. And it's like, again, I don't really care how it comes across. It's an observation. So if I observe something, I report on it, regardless of how it's perceived or how people are prepared to accept, whether that's a valid argument or not. But something I recognize in society quite deeply is that if a woman does what I do, they get support and they be successful. I don't know, that's something that most people don't want to hear and they're not ready to hear, but it's true. Now, I understand in certain segments of society, women are suppressed. So some people say, oh, it's balanced out. There shouldn't be this gender bias. But I know full well if I was a female, the work I had done would not have gone unnoticed. And I would have been incredibly successful by now. It's just a lot easier in the creative space for women to get attention. And again, people might not like that. It's fine. But that's what I see. So I'm not saying women are the enemy in any way, shape, or form at all. I'm just showing an awareness that, yeah, it's near impossible for me to get anywhere. It just is. And look, I'm going to show examples of it. I'm not someone who gatekeeps. I'm not embarrassed. I'm just frustrated. And I'm not going to keep giving myself so freely to this world when I've already given so much of myself in the time I've had here. I'm 43 years old. This is not something that I'm prepared to just give every ounce of my being on a daily basis when I don't feel fulfilled in my own life. Like I said, there's days when I am, but there's days when it's so freaking hard, and at the moment it's the financial pressure that's just getting to me more than anything. Then I can cope with the financial pressure, but like I said, when it's sustained and continuous, it just gets a bit more like, this isn't good for me. This is not making me happy. I'm frustrated to the core. There's an opportunity I said that I really want to invest in. It's not that much money. And some people think it's a scam anyway, but I see the beauty in it and the potential. And it's something I really want to try. But right now, even I can't afford it. And it's something so stupid. It's only like £90 a month. I haven't even got £90 a month spare. And the plan is, come the May, that's when I'll jump on. But unless something happens between now and May to improve my circumstances, I genuinely don't know how that's going to happen. Now, I have no problem in periods going back into traditional work, but I do have issues sometimes. I find it's quite inept, it's poor leadership, it's toxic workplaces. I can't stay there for long. And between now and May, for instance, first of all, where I am, the jobs have just dried up, and it's been strange because a few years ago there was plenty. Now it's the same ones keep popping up, and they just waste people's time. And I don't really understand the point to that personally. Then I have an issue where Easter, I spend time with my daughter. So it kind of, the closer we get to Easter, the more it's hard to sacrifice our time together for financial opportunity, even though, of course, a financial opportunity is beneficial to my life. But more important to my life is my daughter. So again, people have their own perspective on that and priorities. For me, my priority is always her. We talk an awful lot. We talk pretty much every day nearly, but we are at a distance, and we only get the holidays. So we get the summer, Christmas, and Easter, and sometimes we get half terms, but not all of them. So we had Christmas. We speak a lot on the phone, do FaceTimes throughout the year, and the next one's Easter. I'm not happy just to see her twice a year. I want to be in her company. Again, I'm complaining about my financial situation, and I absolutely get it. But more important to me is her. So with it getting closer and closer to our time together, it gets even more complicated. My life is always complicated. I'm not looking for sympathy here. I'm just showing why I'm fed up. And I think other people would have got to breaking point far sooner than I have. I have low days in and out. But when I get to this point, I know this is more serious in a sense that it's going to be more long term. It could be the rest of the year. I actually don't know. I'm actually fuming inside. Not with people, because most people don't know who I am and haven't seen my work. And yet I've been plugging away for a decade. It's more the universe. And again, I'm spiritual, as you find through some of my content quite deeply. The universe has a plan, but I don't always agree with that plan, and I'm sick and tired of suffering in anticipation, suffering in the creation. Yeah, I mean, look, we all have bills, and when you haven't got anyone for support with that, you're responsible for everything. It gets hard when you're not really receiving a lot of anything. So it's the thing that's pushed me over the limit, and it's really pushed me over the limit because I'm sick and tired of struggling. Is I put £100 in I've got two different bank accounts. I never use this other one. I just did it as a backup really, because I was having a little bit of issue with the current bank account. The app didn't work once or something. And I just thought that's risky. So I've made another bank account elsewhere. Haven't really used it, but I thought this could be a good way of separating my money, you know. So I put £100 in this account. Last month was really hard, and this is what I'm saying. This is like it's because it's repeated now. I did a shop at the beginning of the month or the end of January. It wasn't particularly like a huge amount of money. My shopping bill is not very high. You know, I pay usually it's around about £70 when I get shopping. And that covers most things because I'm on my own. So I only did something like that. It wasn't nothing extravagant. It was the basics, and you know. And normally I do another one 2 weeks later, so I can make that last, and then 2 weeks later do another one, and it gets you through the month. So two of those, it's not that massive bill. But the bills were so stressful that I couldn't do a second shop, and I had to stretch that shopping all the way to the end of the month, and it was pushed me. Even milk, like my milk, for some reason, it can last an extra 2 weeks. It's quite crazy, and that milk manages to, for somehow that managed to last most of the month. That was the miracle of it all. But I managed to push everything I had, like tins of beans. I got to the very last tin. It was just crazy. Like in terms of management of food and things, it was just insane that I could push what had existing plus the grocery shopping from that period a whole month. And I was like, bloody hell, that was a miracle. I'm not doing that on a monthly basis. That was hard. That was like one of the hardest moments I've had in terms of food at home. That was a crisis point. And it relayed to me that most of us are only ever maybe 2 weeks away from hunger. Most people aren't. They're not even aware of it. Because I saw how bad it was to push it even just an extra 2 weeks. That was tough. And I've got extra storage. I've got an extra like freezer where chest freezer, you can put things in. I'm transparent, you know. So I've put £100 spare into the bank account so I can get that second shopping, because I don't want to feel like that ever again. And the car's nearly out of fuel, so that's not really helpful if I have to do anything. So I put the £100 so I can do my shopping and I can get some fuel. I haven't needed to get the fuel yet. The Iran war shit going on now isn't going to help, of course. Prices are going to go up. Very helpful on my part. But not only that, all the bills I had hoped would get paid. I knew I might have trouble, but then it's the ones that are coming after the main bunch of bills, because I do separate them on purpose just in case I can't pay some. Instead of it knocking all of them out, you know, the next one can come 2 days later. The next one comes sort of in a certain window, which I'm aware of they're coming to a degree, but sometimes we forget something. All of a sudden, home insurance goes out. It's not a massive amount of money, but I'd already earmarked certain amounts of money for this, for this, for this. All of a sudden, that's nearly £15. Again, not a lot of money. People saying, "Oh, I can't afford home insurance." I haven't got a lot of money and I can afford home insurance. I'm not going to miss home insurance. That's a stupid bill to miss. So even I'm like, that's even in a crisis, that's getting covered. Then I've got the broadband, you know, your internet. I'm thinking, yeah, damn, I forgot about that one. That's £25. Not a lot of money. I've got a great deal. So 1 gig broadband. I'm not an idiot. I don't overspend on things like that. £25 is 1 gig broadband. Crazy deal. Yeah, don't want that getting cut off, do I? All of a sudden, these are coming out of the £100 I've put back. And there's another bill as well. I think it's credit card. I think that's like £25. But either way, before time we do this, it's halved my contingency fund. All of a sudden, I don't have much left now to do a shopping and get my fuel for the car. And I wouldn't consider myself a lazy individual. I've sacrificed time and money for a very long time. Like it shows in the work, you know. I've got 7 books. So anyone that thinks, oh, you should be, people have an opinion on your lifestyle, and I get it. But I've never been rewarded for what I've done. I've never had support really, apart from my mum. And again, pockets of people, very small windows, not every year, and it's just for a period. And I'll give just as much in return. We're talking about genuine support, especially of strangers and things. Again, I'm not looking for handouts and shit. I've never asked for handouts. I don't want handouts. All I ever wanted was a fair investment of my work. And I say that an awful lot. I had a video meeting for this situation. I was hoping I could you know, explore, but it's getting harder. And I said what I said in this meeting was the fact that the work I do, I love the fact that everybody benefits. If someone buys one of my books, it helps change my life. Now, of course, I need quite a lot to sell for it to be impactful on me. One book selling doesn't really do a lot without, yeah, it's just the reality, isn't it? One book isn't going to change my life because it's not really going to pay a bill. But you sell a few, let's say 100 sells. So I'm transparent. I get about £4 per book profit, like royalty. But, I don't sell anywhere near enough, so it doesn't matter to a degree. But you sell 100 books, that's £400. Well, that would help me with my bills. Not life-changing, but it definitely helped me with my bills. So if we don't sell 100 books, it's not really going to be that noticeable. Now, maybe half of that, but still, that's what I'm just telling. And they don't do that. The books haven't done that. And it frustrates me because I know it can help people. And that's what I was saying. So, like, when my books sell, it will help change my life, but it's going to also help change someone else's life. So I know, for instance, if I ever sold 1 million copies of my book, yeah, I'm going to have a nice, luxurious life. That'd be beautiful. Well, who wouldn't want that? But I'd also know I've helped 1 million people. People probably get that misconstrued. They think, oh yeah, he's look at him. Don't realize every time someone buys my book, I mean, I won't be able to do it forever once they start picking up. What people probably don't realize is, I mean, I haven't got it with me here. When someone buys a copy of my book, I then get that book and I start reading it, especially the first few chapters, from the very beginning to the first few chapters. And then I'll skim through it because I've read them so many times. And I might go towards the end after. But I'll always read the beginning because I want to know what they're experiencing right now. And because I've done 7, it's hard to remember the exact beginnings. So I get that. If I know that someone's just received a book, I'll start reading it. Because I'm invested in someone's journey, even if I'm not with them there and then. So best believe if someone wants to buy a book, there's a good chance I'm reading it very similar time they're reading it. So we're experiencing it together. So I'm not above myself. It's not, for me, it's not all about money. But of course, I need the necessities as well. But yeah, I'm invested in other people's growth. Now, where I say I'm shutting down, I'm going, there's a chance that was going to happen anyway. I've done so many videos and I'm surprised I keep coming up with content. It amazes me because I'm thinking I've done really what I want to do now. And then the next day I've got another idea. I better talk about that. Better talk about that. Better talk about that. I don't want to be a political commentator. So I don't want to be following politics my whole life. I don't like doing videos like that. I'll do it when I feel called to do it and I feel it's really important. But I'm not, if I've just done what I've got to say, I'm not going to spend more like unnecessary time talking on politics on a daily basis and that then be content. I'm more than happy to walk away. So if I haven't got the content that I want to talk about, then I'm just going to walk away because I always knew that was going to happen one day. My journey is about the struggle, overcoming this, transforming your life, go after your dreams, go after your goals. I've been doing that. I just think for me personally, it's just, I don't want to make it about like, oh, you've got the harder journey and all that. It just seems to me that I don't get the breakthroughs though, and I just have to keep working though. I think if someone implemented in a similar way that I operate, I think they would see success. But, so it's really hard for me to be a walking example of a success story when I'm struggling all the time anyway. And I get fed up with that myself. I say to the universe, this is a joke. How can I lead by example when my life is a struggle all the time anyway? So it's up to people if they want to listen or not. I can't say. So I recognize if beyond the work I do, the only way it continues is once I've had my success, and then I can talk from the position of a success story. Not in a way that's boastful or trying to just lord over someone, just to show people the end of the rainbow, to show you implement this, you do this, you do this. There'll be the hard times. It will get demoralizing sometimes. You'll want to give up, but just keep investing in yourself. And then this is the result. I can't show that side of things. I haven't had it. But that's the only way I foresee that the work would continue. And that's beyond me just annoyed. That's just in general. Like, I'm just, there's no more books to come after the two that are coming after, unless I want to go down a different path. But just time and energy all the time. So again, like I said, I'm transparent. I'm going to show now what I'm talking about. Now, my books are on other platforms. I don't always monitor that so much. So the priority for me is Amazon and Audible. So I haven't done the latest audiobook for Follow Your Dreams to Spark Your Soul because, in all honesty, I don't want to. I could do it. It might take me a week, but I don't really want to do a week anymore, to be totally honest, and you'll see why. And again, that's my prerogative. I don't, I don't know. And you'll see the books. And again, I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm just frustrated. Like I say, I don't ever ask for handouts from people. I just want a fair opportunity, of growth. So let's get it is a joke, man. It's been an absolute joke for a long time. You don't really need me to show here, but maybe if things were to change, maybe a bit different. But as you can see, I mean, I can only do stuff zoomed in. I mean, you're only going to see the same videos really if I keep doing this. But the views are low on every single video I create. Some are 1 view, maybe the top is 18 views. Most are only 1 though, 2, 3, blah blah blah. And it's been sustained. If you go like 738 videos, even if we go over the videos here, you can see it's consistent. This was 19 hours ago, so a day ago. Then all of a sudden, got 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I really go on and on and on. So I've been consistent, haven't I? So I can't say couldn't say I haven't put in the work. If I'm not working on video books, I'm doing the videos. I see people doing half of what I do and they're really successful. I don't begrudge someone's success. I just get frustrated at my lack of growth. It's just it's a joke at this point. It really is. I'm not going to keep moaning because I just got to switch off from that shit. Just take the hits, take the pressure. That's just what I'm going to do. But I'm not going to keep working in the pressure anymore because I'm just fed up. Because I feel like I've done the work. I've already done the work, man. I don't need to keep proving anything to anyone. I don't have to prove anything to myself. The work's there. Universe can catch up with me, or it cannot. But I'm not just going to be a donkey being treated like shit. If whether that's the path or not, I am, a bit. Eventually, I just do it anyway because I feel I'm inspired to do it, like with myself. But I still have moments where I just think it's a joke. It's not how you treat people. So when the universe treats me like a moron, sometimes I get really annoyed with them. Now I understand pick a purpose. There's a reason. There's a reason for things being held up. This being held up. But it's not fair. I recently had a job interview that I went to, and I don't want to make it all spiritual. And I went all the way to this appointment, and the people didn't even meet me at the building. There was no reception, so I had to wait there. I'm messaging the agency saying I'm available. I'm sitting here. They go, okay, they'll be there in a few minutes. I was waiting nearly half an hour. It was like 20 minutes, half an hour. No one even came. I just went home. And even they were disgusted that the people didn't meet me there. And it's like, this is what I'm talking about, though. I put myself out there, and everything's just a joke. Traveled all the way there. I think it was like 20 minutes each way. Lost me fuel. It's just a waste of time. Everything's like this. I'm sick of people. To a degree, I really am. There was one agency that just contacted me out of the blue yesterday, and I don't waste my time anymore. I've had enough idiots wasting my time. I don't chase nonsense. Either it's a genuine opportunity and you're professional, or you're not. And I see so much unprofessional attitude that I just won't work with people who are unprofessional, even if my finances are bad, because they're just wasting my time and money. One just message me out of the blue. You think, okay, this could be, I don't have a clue what this is because I've not applied for it, and they've just seen something online, through a CV, resume. But within the voicemail, they said, we'll send you a text message and an email with the details. Obviously they wanted me to call them back. But if there was no text message and there was no email, I'm not playing silly shits where I'm chasing around after people who have clearly shown they're inept. If you tell me you're going to give me this and this, then I hold you accountable. I'll talk to you after I've received this and this. I'm not going to start doing constant back and forth messages. I've already dealt with dipshits in the past. Again, people might say if you're desperate, you do it. I don't work like that. I don't work like that. I'll out of sheer principle, I'll make my life hard. I won't deal with morons. I really won't. And it's like I've seen so many unprofessional, especially agency recruitment agents. I know I could do what they do, and I could do it to a high standard, but I'm not. I'm not interested in all that sales shit. That's what they are, glorified salesmen. Anyway, so let's do. Let's have a look at this shit. This is my sales for my books. All my books now. So there's 7 books. This is my sales over the past month. And I don't, look, my spiritual side's going to come out now. I'm going to tell you who bought the books because I know. So I sold a book 25th, 26th of February. And that was February. So what we got here, oh, you can't see it. Let me get rid of this book now just for a minute because it is killing my cover. Right, okay. So look, this is what this is saying this month. So we're in March. So we're on the 4th of March, right? This is like really early in the morning on the 4th of March. So we're only really 3 days in plus a few hours. So, okay, in 3 days in plus a few hours, nothing. You won't get Kindle Unlimited Kindle reads because it's not on Kindle Unlimited. So we're looking for orders. Now, there were orders here on the 25th and the 26th of February. Of course, it's only 28 days to a month. But because it's not this month, because it's not March, that's why it's not coming up here. But you can see it goes all the way back to the 3rd of February. Between the 3rd of February and the 28th of February, we sold 2 books. Both of those were my spiritual book, Losing Mind to Find Your Soul. Both of those were sold in America. So I used my cards. There's someone who I had the potential to have a romantic connection, but it never developed into anything. I do get signs around that individual. And I also get a lot of signs about the people surrounding that individual. So I was curious because it's in America. So I asked my tarot cards. Again, this is probably relevant to my frustrations, but either way. I just said it because I've had it asked before and sometimes it's no. This was a yes. So I asked, was it someone connected to them who bought the book? That was the first book, by the way. So when the first book sold on the 26th, 25th, well, it got delivered on the 25th or dispatched. So it might have been the 24th they ordered it. Depending, I don't know what America's turnaround rate is. But anyway, around that period, just said, is it someone connected to them who bought my book? Yes. Now, they do have a child. And I did recognize a year ago there was issues in the relationship, right? So to make it simple, rather than say, is it their partner or is it their ex-partner? Because I don't know the situation with people. It's not my business. I don't even care enough because it's not my business. But I'm just curious who buys my books. So I'm just curious, is it someone who can help me with a breakthrough? Is it someone that, this and that? So it's really just me trying to figure out the audience. So I said, was it the father of her child who bought my book? Yes. I was like, well, that's curious. What would they think about it? And I get this whole story here. It's the fact that it demoralizes them. They go in with this attitude of, I'm going to uncover them, I'm going to investigate them. Then they're going to realize how clued in I am, how gifted I am, how talented I am at what I do. This isn't me just saying it. I'm saying it through the cards. It was quite apparent that it humbled them. By the time they get to the end, it would have humbled them. It would have, what do you call it? De-armored them. So maybe they've gone in expecting conflict. By the end, it's given them a different perspective on life and the reality. And it's, Then the next day, another book sells. Exact same book, same country. I'm like, well, this is uncanny. I've not sold books anywhere lately. And it's like now we're selling 2 books, same country, day after each other, pretty much, 25th, 26th. So straight away, I'm like, was it a family member of them? Yes. What did they think of the book? And it's very similar. They've got different cards, so I can't remember the exact ones now. But anyway, it alluded to the fact that, they're impressed too. And it helps change them. Then I said, are they religious? Because I was curious, because I'm spiritual. Religious sometimes clashes. Yes. And then it pointed to the fact that it opens their minds to more than what maybe religion was just teaching them. But I thought that was empowering. That's quite cool. Because I'm not in conflict with people. They're in conflict with me by the sound of it. Like, people have a habit of just seeing an issue. I'm not in issue with anyone. I was interested in a relationship with the person. We was talking way before they even got in this relationship, before they even knew these people. So our connection was before them in terms of like us knowing each other. And I know there was something between us, but just too far apart, and it's complicated. And when I found out they had a child, I left them alone. So I'm doing nothing. I'm just minding my own business, doing my own shit. And as you can see, struggling like a mother sucker because I can't even freaking get anywhere, no matter how many. But I could create another 20 books, and it make no damn difference to these stats. That's what I'm up against. So what the hell is the point? Like for my own growth, for my own pride, yeah, it'd be nice. But there's no. What the argument would be? What is the rush? Clearly, there's no rush. So from in terms of success and growth within that success, it makes very negligible difference whether I get these books finished in a positive timescale or if they're delayed. So whether I release, and I've had this every time, you think the next book's going to be my breakthrough. The next book's going to change my life. It's going to have an impact on the world. This is going to help save lives. I see people, and I don't say this lightly, I see so many people losing their life. They take their own lives. They can't find a way out of their situation. My life is a struggle on a regular basis. You don't see me doing that. Now, I'm not saying that to devalue someone. I'm saying that I have the mental strength to get through absolutely anything. And sometimes you do have to take a step back from things. But my point is that my books would help save people. So when I hear that someone's lost their life, I'm like, God damn, if only they'd read my book. And that's not from freaking me trying to gain here. That's like, if they'd just read my book, I think they'd still be here. Or at least it would give them a chance to still be here, you know? And that bothers me a lot because it's like my books feel like they're locked in a cage and I can't get them. I can't do anything. It's beyond my power. And it just pisses me off, in all honesty. It really does, because it's not saving people, which was the whole point in the first place. And of course, my life's just hard every day. Now, let's go and look at the royalties for my audiobooks. Since January, so now we're in March, sold 3 audiobooks. It's nice that people invested in them, for sure. Look, so we've got the 6th of January, we've got the 8th of January, and then we've got the 20th of February. So it's like, wow. Like, again, I'm not devaluing it, because if that's helping people, I would hope people are enjoying it. I don't know if they are. But that's 3 people. Okay. Hopefully it's helping them, because that was the whole point of the audiobooks, is that I recognize some people have trouble with reading or they don't enjoy it. So I can speak it to them. We'll deliver it that way. That was the whole point. But because I don't really have the growth here, and I've already sacrificed enough time and effort writing the books, I don't personally see the point. Let me pause this a minute just so I can get that over. Right, so we're back again. So my website's there. Like I say, you can see it a bit clearer now. We can see all the work. So I don't see the point of rushing to do like an audio book anymore. And I don't see the point of kicking my ass, like sacrificing. Because when I do these books, again, I think that's what I'm talking about, though. I think people don't realize the sacrifice that goes into the work I do, especially the books. Like, you might hear that to do this book, for instance, I've got to give up, I've got to sacrifice for the entire month. Like, it'll be hell forever. I think that sounds quite convenient. I think, oh, it's only a month. What people won't realize is how much that month is broken to pieces. It is terrible. Like, I won't be able to rest. I won't be able to enjoy even the little things. I'll just be a machine. And I've already been a machine in January. I don't enjoy being like that. I like the process of writing, and I love the achievement of finishing it. But I don't like the sacrifice I do to do it. Like, I lose all satisfaction in other things, because everything then becomes meaningless. So even just watching a movie, watching a TV show, I mean, I listen to music while I'm doing it, so I play music. But even just little things I just can't do, because everything I do in that period is a case of that time could have been used to that. That time could be used for that. I don't like thinking like that. You know, you lose the beauty of life and just enjoyment to a degree. But again, but it's success and it's pride with the potential for success, but you feel successful and you feel proud. But again, I don't feel it adds, in terms of what I've done, it doesn't change anything. The next book, yeah, it's a completely different topic, and I think it would be well received, but then there's no guarantee anyone reads it for another 5 years. You know, what are we doing over here? But again, I do want that book out, because I said in it covers Michael Jackson, it's going to cover Princess Diana, other issues in the world from the serious things and hopefully inspire change towards the end. And I think in that point, it will have an impactful change. I feel passionate about it. So look, it will come out. It's just when does it come out? And am I prepared to sacrifice? Earlier in February, I think mid-February, I was really excited. And I've got some chapters half done. Done an awful lot of Michael. Well, I say an awful lot. I've done a section of Michael Jackson. I've done Princess Diana. I've done sections of other chapters. And everything I've wrote so far, I think, without boosting an ego here, I think it's great. Like, I'm listening and thinking, that's great, that's great, that's great. Same way I feel about my recent book, Follow Your Dream, Sparkle Your Soul. I think it's incredible. And I'm continuing that trend straight into the next book. But there's still a lot of work to do, like an incredible amount of work. And I'd say over the past week, I haven't even gone near it because I know how hard this is going to be the hardest book I've ever written. I'm not like, for instance, in my other books, I haven't had to quote things so much because it's just from my thoughts and what I've gone through. So it's my interpretation of the world. With this one, Freedom and Politics, it's documenting other people's journey. So if I talk about Michael Jackson, I then have to cite references towards things. So you have to do that. And then if I'm going to talk about political issues, I also have to record statements and things to corroborate what I've said. So there's layers to this, and it goes in deep. It's going to be deep in areas. And at the moment, it's like I really don't want to push myself to do that right now because I know how hard it is. Again, if this releases and people love it, I think it'd be a bit naive to think that was an easy book to write. It's easy for me to write what I know. It's just going to be more taxing for me to do the research to have to then back it up, and other things like that, and even educate me on certain issues that maybe I know a certain depth, but I don't know all of it. So I'm not going to give things away because there's things I might say and then it doesn't reach the book. It doesn't make it to the book because it's not really needed and it's not worth the extra layer of hassle. I don't really know until the book's finished. But anyway, I don't want to keep waffling about books because I'm getting fed up with it, to be totally honest. I've done the work, and I would say even if I didn't do those, which I will, because they mean a lot to me in different ways, the two that are coming after. But I'm just saying, if hypothetically, if I didn't do those books, I'd consider what I've done rather impressive for myself. I'm proud. But it doesn't mean I'll ever see success. Now, I get signs of beautiful successes coming, like incredible, but it doesn't change my today. And I'm sick and tired of looking to tomorrow, looking to the future, and saying, this is what it could be, this is what it could be. Well, what is today for me? It's a freaking nightmare. What's tomorrow? What's next month look like, potentially? It's hard enough now. Next month will be even more stressful. Because at the moment, there's potential for growth. Next month, there's no potential for growth because there's time with my daughter. And once that time comes, there's nothing I'm letting get in the way of that period together. Now, it's not a huge period, but it's not hard for a month to be fragmented and you've lost half of it already. And that's what's going to happen. So if the finances are tight now, it stands to reason they're likely to be tight then, which impacts our time together, my ability to travel, the sacrifice I will have to do that, which means there will be bills get missed. People will get angry. There will be probably late fees added. So then what does that mean for my June? May. I'm getting lost at the months. What does that mean likely for my May? Oh, more financial pressure from the shit that happened the previous month. Now, I get through it and I can handle it. But it doesn't mean I'm going to be happy. So there's no point me creating videos going forward for the foreseeable future where I'm pissed off on a regular basis. It's going to do no one any good. And I don't particularly feel like doing it. So, yeah, I'm going to be stressed in periods. I'm going to relax. I'm going to watch movies. I'll try play video games if my mind even allows me to, which it hasn't so far, really. I can play the Switch 2. I can play on that in brief pockets, but I can't do like bigger gaming that I used to enjoy at the moment. I need my mind to release me to just be free, to just have fun in life, This is becoming a bit of a running joke at this point. Like I said, even traditional work's dried up and they just waste your time. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I can keep creating, do I do, build a legacy potentially, unlikely to see growth because I've not had it. Keep bashing down other doors where nothing's happening. Again, I don't want this to be it's a negative video before you look at it, as you look at it, isn't it? And I understand my comment's going to incite some rage in a lot of people when I say I think if a woman did what I did, then I think they would have been successful. But I see an awful lot of female content creators get an awful lot of attention. I'm not saying it's like it's sexualized in some way. I'm not attaching that to it. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think women tend to prefer to support women, and women are more supportive in general of ambition and things, I think, than men. I think men see competition. I think a lot of men, again, this is stereotyping to a degree, but it's just a reality. A lot of men feel almost like they feel threatened by other people's success. So the ego gets in the way and they try to bring people down. So, for instance, if you was to see negative comments online in someone's content, you would look, women will do it, but I think you'd see it's more likely to be a guy because they want to act all tough, want to act all strong. Yeah, but they just come across as stupid and pathetic sometimes. Because they're just misguided and they think they've been all. I don't want to go into it. I don't want to start attacking people, but for the most part, again, that's stereotyping people. So I'm not saying everybody, but women tend to be more supportive and nurturing. They can also be toxic as shit because I've seen so many toxic women as well who absolutely hate men and they just feel so self entitled. That's another story entirely. But what I'd say is if you're going to get support from someone, it's probably likely to be a female. And that's just statistically, I think, from what I've witnessed, that's what I think. And women tend to want to support women, which, everyone's prerogative. But as a male, I don't reach that demographic, do I? So I probably piss off men because they're trying to posture as bigger than they are. Trying to flaunt the fact that maybe they have money, but they're just a bit of a mess, or they've got this huge bravado, whatever. And also how direct I am, I guess, at times, and how I see the world probably offends women. So I mean, that's how I see it. I just don't, I don't, it is what it is. I just think people spite themselves. In all honesty, I think people spite themselves on average, really, because I think people don't want to see me successful in general. And the crazy part is, the work I've done, I think, would blow most people's mind. And I don't say that lightly. I know how it sounds, but it's easy to say, "Oh, you're struggling." What you know, well, it's easy to say that, but if you haven't read my books, how could you possibly know what I've created? So I set myself up for failure by saying things like that. But yeah, if you haven't read my books, how could you possibly know? It's not my fault they haven't been read. Doesn't my fault. It's not my fault that people feel threatened by me. It is what it is. Because I think the average person, if they read my book, I think it'd blow their mind. And it's like it might be something I've even written 3 years ago. So someone might read something from 3 years ago and think, "Why did this not successful?" You tell me. If I did it 3 years ago, I expect to be successful too. I wasn't, so I kept working. I can't keep at the rate I'm working at. I can't keep doing it. And like I said, I've already done my book for a year. So even if I didn't, even if the others come out in next year and the year after, whatever. Anyway, this isn't me going to keep going on. It's unlikely there's going to be any more videos for a time period because I'll probably be doing other stuff. Yeah, because there was something else, a project I was thinking of doing, and I might invest in that because I just do different things. But I don't think I will at the moment. I was going to start reading. Might as well talk about it here. I've got my other channel where I read. Oh, where is that gone? I'll just get it up just quick. Again, I do things that I feel passionate about. It's not about the views and all that shit. It's obviously nice to get that. It's nice to get the growth, and it's nice to see my life improve. But I still do projects if I feel called to do it. So like I've got my reading channels, free subscribers. Wow, it's massive. But again, doesn't matter. It doesn't change my ambition towards it. I just been doing other stuff. But what I'm thinking of doing is read the New Testament of the Bible. Because I know I'm supposed to read it in my lifetime, even though I'm not religious. I think it's important to understand Jesus' journey, his life. If you're going to read a biography, for instance, you want to hear his, don't we? So I think that stands to reason. And also, it would be a case of I read it and then I show my interpretation of it as I read through it. And it doesn't mean my interpretation would be correct, but it would be honest. I think an awful lot of people, and this is what bothers me a lot about religion in general, is it gets indoctrinated into people. So let's say this is the Bible. You have a priest, a pastor, whatever the hell they are, and they'll read passages and they'll tell you what it means. They don't leave you to figure out what it means. They've already made assumptions based on what the text is. So let's say I read it and then I say, right, okay, from this I interpret this as meaning this. Now, a religious scholar will turn around and say, no, that's not right. This is what it means. No, 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 no. We're all reading the same text. So it's open for interpretation because it was written in older English. You know, I think it's Latin, I guess. I don't really know. But it's older, isn't it? So it's not as straightforward to read. It comes down to interpretation. So who's to say a religious scholar is any more accurate than someone coming in fresh? And I would much rather be someone coming in fresh that is not blinded by them, because that bothers me a lot. That if I read something, that I then get an interpretation of it, told this is exactly what it means, because this is what we want you to think about that text. Well, if that's not the first thing that comes to mind when I read it, I'm going to just go with what I say. If it makes sense what you're saying beyond what I'm saying, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Fine. But I'm not influenced. And I think that's a pure place to come from. I think it's how everybody should start. So if I do read it, it'll be reading it and then just showing a brief impression of what I think. And it's up to people then to have their own impression, though. But I do think that's how it needs to be. You can't just take direction from other people telling you, this is what this means in this passage. This is what this means. We're all reading the same thing over here. So if I have a different opinion, it's because it's open for interpretation, isn't it? So that's what I'm interested in from that point of view. And it's not about disrespecting the Bible in any way. I wouldn't do it. If it's to disrespect something, I wouldn't do that. You don't have to agree with religions, but you don't disrespect the religion. Because it is sacred to many people. And if it turns out one of the religions is accurate and true, it's incredibly disrespectful to the legacy that was being told, So like, if I'm reading it, I'm no way is it because I'm trying to be disrespectful of it. It's just I want to understand Jesus' journey. So I might read the New Testament of the Bible. I'm not interested in the Old Testament, to be honest. Now, again, this is my spiritual side going to come out. It might piss some people off. And I say that because people, especially with religion and spirituality, that's a big crossover that people don't want to go near. Because I'm spiritual doesn't mean I don't believe that parts of the Bible is not true. Doesn't mean that at all. It's just I've got my experiences I've had have not needed the involvement of the Bible or any religion. So if I've had the experiences I've had, then it means I don't need religion, doesn't it? Because it's not brought me to spirit, to God, or whatever source, whatever you want to call it. It's done without that. So I don't need the tools of a religion to do it. But I think understanding someone's journey is important. And I've asked through my tarot cards, I'm not going to go on it now. I'm not involved in spirit right now. I'm pissed off of them. My journey's too hard. It's just ridiculous at this point. There's been no breakthrough. I'm sick of it. I keep getting signs of breakthroughs, but that doesn't help me today. And I'm sick of the signs. I've been having it for a long time. I've had enough of them. Right now, I've had enough. But I have asked in the past, I've asked Jesus questions. I can't even find a video. I don't know what the hell's happened to it. But I asked questions. And I did say, is Jesus happy with the New Testament of the Bible? Yes. Have humans misinterpreted parts of the New Testament of the Bible? Yes. So it does mean that in some ways it's been manipulated, but the actual text itself, Jesus, Yeshua, is happy with the story his story being told in the way it has. But he's not happy particularly with the way it's been misinterpreted. So me reading it, I know that this is going to be factual. For me, I believe it's factual, but it's going to be how it's written. Be honest with it, not be misguided. So that's really where I'll go to. I can't remember if I asked about the Old Testament because that's prior to Jesus' conception, and it's just I think the further you go back, the less pure it can be, and all those things. So quite frankly, I couldn't care less. I only honestly care about Jesus' conception, so his birth, and then the life he had. Anything that came before him, I honestly couldn't care less. I've genuinely no interest at all, because I personally think that half of the Bible. I mean, I could ask the question myself, but I think that half of the Bible, I think that part of it is probably a lot of it's false. Because if you think about the Bible, from my understanding of the Bible, is that it's made up of other people's stories. So someone had this version of events at this part of history, a part of life, and that was, I mean, I don't know the whole meanings of it, but that's probably what the genesis of this is, and all this and this. It's all because it's different stories, and then they've compacted it into this big book called the Bible. And that's my understanding of it. My other understanding of it is that scholars in the past decided which passages, which parts to include to curate this Bible, and some were removed purposely to create a specific narrative, which is why we get reference of the Book of Enoch that didn't make it into the Bible. It's been removed, and then there's other passages. But realistically, without the whole contents of everything that existed, you can't be too sure of the narrative and the accuracy of what's being told, because you can't cherry pick content. So I am skeptical of religion, but I do recognise that some are true. And I've always said within my own personal belief is that if you look across all religions, when there's a common denominator, I believe that's where you're going to find. It's a bit like X marks the spot. You've got all these religions. Where does all the text go? Where does all the beliefs go? How does it cross over? And I think where it crosses over is where you're going to find more truth. Because for something to have transcended all religions is quite powerful. And I would argue that they all have their own narrative. They all have an agenda for specific reasons, for specific cultures. It doesn't necessarily make them true 100%, but there are segments that I would consider true. So what is true is that Jesus features, I'm pretty sure, in all religions. And Mother Mary, the Virgin Mary, she features in all religions. And from what I understand is in Christian culture, Jesus was like a prophet, but even deeper than that, but an ascended master. He was the son of God. So he's very much highly revered in Christianity. And then Mother Mary is seen, obviously, as someone incredibly pure and healing. So she has a real big, prominent space within Christianity, of course. That's why you have all these images of the Mother Mary. You even have, I can't remember, it's in France, the fountain or something, and it's supposed to help heal people. Quite powerful. Or at least the image of it is, and the way it makes people feel, and the stories. And we see her prominent throughout Christianity, of course. So she is revered. But then I think when you go over to, I don't know if it's Islam, or I don't know exactly which one. I don't know if it's Islam or Judaism. I don't know which one it is. It could be Hebrew. Anyway, it could be. I know that other religions have the Mother Mary as the more prominent figure than Jesus, but they all pretty much, and I say pretty much because I don't know if every single religion does, but I'm pretty sure most of them do, feature both Jesus and Mother, the Virgin Mary. So some will just consider Jesus as a prophet. So he was not so revered as the Son of God or Christ conscious. None of that. They just see him as Jesus, who was a prophet. And the Mother Mary was the more prominent figure in their culture. But what we'd say, rather than the status of each individual, I would say the fact that they existed across all of them is quite significant to me. That suggests that those two individuals definitely existed at a time in history. And the fact that it doesn't matter which one is more prominent across the stories, the fact that they're intertwined anyway, and the fact that doesn't matter which religion, one of them is prominent, like very prominent and revered, suggests the positive impact they had at that time in history. So they're not people that weren't noticed. So they were noticed. It's just in different ways between each other. So for me, that's the crossover. So, and I've always said that, even before I knew all that information. I always said the truth is where the crossover is. So the truth is Jesus and Mother Mary. And I think that's really important. So to know that, I think suggests that we should learn about them if we want to know more about history and our life and things. So I think that's quite interesting to do in this lifetime, of course. So where does that take us? It takes us to the New Testament, doesn't it? So maybe I need to read that. Now, it's a lot to read. But, if you're going to read any book, I'd suggest that's probably one that we should be trying to read anyway. And again, but then the crossover comes to read all the other texts as well from other religions. But because I'm not religious, it's like, how much do I really want to take on board? How much do I need to know? And all those things. But again, that's just personal to me. Again, it's a commitment because it is a lot to read, isn't it? And it's not the easiest um, text to read either. I think it's a bit, to me, I think of it similar to Shakespeare, it's just not simple. You don't just read it like you read a book. And it's so much interpretation within it. And not everybody, and I mean me personally, I don't like reading Shakespeare at all. I feel like I'm reading riddles. I don't want to read riddles. I don't want to have to decipher every freaking sentence. That's just a headache to me. So anyway, that's just something I might end up going over to do. So if I'm not creating my content for a while, you may find out. Because I'm not always, I mean, I'll put it on my main profile, but you wouldn't notice it because I'm not posting the video on my new profile. I'm just adding it to a playlist if I end up doing it. But it will be over on my reading channel. So there'll be a whole section here somewhere, and it'll probably be near the top, just above Stephen King, probably, where I probably say, like the Bible, New Testament. And then I'll just have to sort of segregate the videos to say part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. But I'll talk about Psalm this, Psalm that. I'll try and break it down as best I possibly can. But again, whether I do that at this point in time, I really don't know. It's not something I intend to do right now. I do have, again, I'm not even religious, but I have respect for people's cultures, I do have 3 Bibles. Let me see if I can find 2 of them. One of them is actually really big. Okay, so here they are. I did used to have a little red one you get when you finish school. I've got this one here. You can see I've got a little note in the middle of that. That's this one. It's a smaller one. I'll try and open it a little bit. It's tiny, but it doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, go. That's what I've done it. It's got a picture of me and my daughter when she was younger. If you can see here, it's so bright. You can see I've actually got the bookmark on the New Testament, and it says at the top of this, the New Testament of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Translated out of the original Greek and with the former translations diligently compared and revised by His Majesty's special command, appointed to be read in churches. That's what that says, right? So kind of like what annoys me a little bit is the fact that it has been translated, because how much has been altered, how much has been manipulated. That worries me a bit. So this one here is this all the New Testament? Oh, this whole book's the New Testament. That's kind of handy. It's easier to read because the text is bigger. Yeah. I've also got a digital one, actually. So I've got 4. So I've got 2 of these, got a Kindle one, and I've also got this other one. But this one I've got a bookmark for some reason on. I don't know why I've got it all like this. You can't see that. The Gospel of John. So it says the Gospel according to John. It's just say what it says at the beginning, just briefly, while I'm sat here. Don't know why I've got it on there. I think I was just curious about the journey. So it says that author, the Apostle John, I'm not going to say numbers because I never understand half that, son of Zebedee, whose brother was James and whose mother was Salem. Time of writing, approximately AD 90. Place of writing, perhaps Ephesus. Recipients, all believers both in Judea and throughout the Gentile lands, as indicated by the translation offered by John. Subject, the Gospel of John, life, proving that Jesus Christ is God the Saviour, coming as life to propagate Himself. Again, it's a lot of wordy that doesn't make any sense to me at all at this point. I don't like this riddle malarkey, but there is that. So I've got 2 there, plus I've got the Kindle version, but I've also got this massive red one that I can't find anywhere at the moment. I have put it somewhere safely because it's important, because the cover was broke a little bit, it's a bit damaged, and it's one that's been passed down to me, a generational one. And I take, like, when I've got books that are old, my mum thinks, "Oh, sell that, sell that." I said, "No, no, 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 no. I want the older books." She doesn't understand it. But I said, if I was ever wealthy, I'd want to collect old texts. I would want things like that because I want to treasure them. I want to protect them. So I take it very serious. So, like, in no way am I trying to be condescending, patronizing to religions. It's just I'm only interested in learning what I want to learn and when I'm ready to learn it. And I've got this massive red one. It's really cool. I don't know the value of it, but I don't care. I've got History of England books. I've got 4 at the moment. My mum says there's probably more in her the lot that she can't find, and I don't know the value of them, and she thinks just sell them. They're from 1800s, 1860 something, I think, when I figured it out. So that's quite incredible, isn't it? Like, with literally about 150 years old books. That's to me, it's like, wow, that's crazy. And it's so deep. It covers like Roman history of England and all sorts, Queen Victoria, all sorts of stuff. There's so much, and the text's so small. It'd take me ages to read it all. But one day I'd like to find the time and capacity to be able to do that. So I see my future as being hopefully that's successful in different areas. But I've always said that I would love to have like a research room. My home's so modest; it's so small. I've got this stupid green screen. I'd love to have a big enough house where I can have a study room and I can have old texts and stuff, and I can just spend time periods just really just delving into it and figuring it all out, and have a table where I can make notes and just put the pieces together like a freaking treasure map. That'd be cool, you know. Knowledge is really important, but I'd love to have that time in my life where I don't have external pressures on me, so I can actually do those sort of things for a period of my life. That would make me happy. That's something I'd love to do, but I'm too stressed at the moment with life. In periods, it's just I don't have that capacity. You'd need that different levels of freedom in your life, I think, to truly be able to gravitate towards it. Plus, I have my projects, but I could, I'd hope that at some point in my life, I can genuinely do that. That'd make me happy. Simple goal. But yeah, there's a lot to learn about the world.